When you go back to January of last season, the XFINITY Series, it was revered heavily as it was deemed the laughingstock of NASCAR due to the Big Three leaving and the insane lack of competitive teams. Man oh man did they prove us wrong during the season, as it turned out to be the best NASCAR sanctioned series racing wise. I have to say, I like the mid-motor small blade package ran last year, and I think that's what the NASCAR Cup Series should go for when creating the new next-gen car. So you take an excellent package and you add more competitive teams for the championship, what you get is the 2021 NASCAR XFINITY Series regular season. I'm convinced Jeffrey Earnhardt is the Paul Menard of legacy drivers. He's simply proven himself as an alright driver on an alright team. Ironically, he joins JD Motorsports, pretty much the most status quo team you can think of in Xfinity. The best news for Jeffrey is he's acquired sponsor Forever Lawn for a majority of the season. So he has a consistent paint scheme, and potentially it could be a partnership to better his equipment in the future. I honestly hope he has some good runs in that car. Maybe this can finally be the year he steps forward. Brett Moffitt, disregarding the career blunder in trucks, he is now in the XFINITY Series competing full-time with Our Motorsports. Now of course, since he's running for the championship in trucks, that means he will not be eligible to race for the Xfinity Championship. The only way this changes is if he wins a race and pulls a Ross Chastain, and in fact he almost did so with an impressive second place finish in the season opener. Still, even if he would have won, it wouldn't have locked him in the playoffs. After all, he has to declare for Xfinity points before he gets the win. So he's not running for the championship. So what is there to look forward to with this team? Honestly, I'd say it's going to be interesting to see if Moffitt can perform and get this team some consistent runs. Maybe 2022 has a great opportunity if he can prove that he's a great driver for Our Motorsports. I'll tell you this, Joe Graf Jr. is without a question the most needlessly hated driver in NASCAR right now. Despite being one of the rare beacons of light on Twitter, people still attack this guy, even though when you look at his stats, he didn't even do that bad in Xfinity last year. He only had one crash-related DNF in the second half of the year, and his average finish was basically identical to his average start. So now we get to 2021, and the only change is him switching numbers to the 07. I doubt this SS Greenlight team becomes playoff contenders, but maybe they take a massive step in doing so. Michael Annett continues to be one of the more puzzling drivers in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Statistically, he regressed from 2019 and was eliminated in the round of 12. Yet, what people overlook is he ended 2020 by finishing top 10 in 19 of his final 22 races. And something else to point out, had he not gotten disqualified at Talladega, he could have easily made a dark horse run at the championship. I'm telling ya, for all the flack Annett gets for being a pay driver, he can be a massive under-the-radar surprise. All he really needs is a big moment to prove it, which unfortunately won't be with Travis Mack. Mike Bumgarner takes over the headset for 2021. The big concern with Bumgarner is the fact that he has never crew chiefed in a full-time capacity. If that inexperience becomes a liability, it might be a return to 2017 to 2018. We can only hope with Bumgarner now at the helm that Annett can continue his under-the-radar performance well throughout the season. Myatt Snider, once screwed out of a top caliber ride at ThorSport after one season, gets redemption with Richard Childress Racing. So after splitting between RCR and Ryan Sieg Racing, his rookie Stripes campaign was a bit of a struggle marred with tons of DNFs and mediocre finishes. If I go solely based on stats, there isn't too much promise for Snider in a stacked Xfinity field. The good news is he'll have Andy Street on the box for the second year in a row. As much as Snider may be subpar this season, I expect Street and the championship RCR equipment to keep him at least treading above the cut line. Landon Kessel is back in a full-time ride after being cut by Starcom after the 2019 season. He's a driver that honestly never really had what it took to win, but he's a great utility guy for smaller teams. After all, just look at what he's done for Starcom and Cup. I see him once again providing a great service, this time for JD Motorsports. This is a team that needs to take that next step from top 15 to playoff contender. Ryan Vargas will officially Corvette into a JD Motorsports entry for an entire season this year. Though it looks like he won't have the TikTok sponsorship, unfortunately. In terms of the performance, when you look at his 9 races last year, he did a rather solid job without much Xfinity experience. 1 top 10 at Texas, and he finished better than he started in 5 of his races. And I think the one strength that Vargas has is he seems to stay out of trouble and can get you a decent finish at the end of the day. Like Kessel, I think he's another great fit for JD, and I would not be surprised if he's in contention for a win by the end of the season, mainly when you get to Talladega or Daytona if you get an all-out wreckfest. Just how many times is this going to happen? Just how many times is just an Allgaier going to come up short of winning the championship? It's the same song and dance every single year. Justin Allgaier struggles in the first half, finds some momentum in the playoffs, and then is either a no-show in the championship race or overdrives turn 3 to lose in embarrassing fashion. The only exception to this was 2018, where you just flip the regular season and the playoffs and keep the frustrating ending. We can only hope he doesn't become the Elliott Sadler of the 2020s, but it's unfortunately looking more and more like it every passing year. As for the team, you've got Jason Burdett once again, and he's going to lead a strong season for Justin Allgaier. At minimum, this team gets a win and they will compete for this championship. However, that minimal result will once again fall into the disappointment category, unless he pulls a Matt Crafton this time in Xfinity. His teammate Noah Gragson also failed to rise to the occasion. Imagine having the lead on the very final lap, the very final corner in fact, at one of the hardest tracks to pass on the circuit, then making a mistake and giving up the lead. I'll tell you, Noah Gragson's Texas blunder is arguably the greatest single race choke since Jimmy Johnson at the Roval. If there is some good news, because we gotta be positive here, in my opinion he redeemed himself with a strong drive in the dual race. As for Xfinity, Bass Pro Shops is back now as the full season sponsor, and he gets another shot with David Lenz and the 9 team to win a championship. I'd say this year 3 is more important than ever, especially with the next gen car coming up in Cup and possibly a few top tier slots opening up. He only gets there, however, if he learns to finish races and not throw them away. Jib with an exclamation mark Burton hopes to capitalize on a prime opportunity to return to full-time competition. His past venture at Junior Motorsports didn't yield very many positives outside of 3 top 5s and being in contention during the season opening Daytona 300. So now he takes over the number 10 Nutrient Egg Solution Chevrolet Camaro. Now, considering his predecessor in that car with Cup experience couldn't get a win and couldn't make the championship 4, I'm keeping the bar realistic for Burton. Personally, I think Jib with an exclamation mark will do a good job, but the problem is good may not be enough. That especially with the NASCAR XFINITY playoffs being completely stacked with teams and talent this season. There's a good chance he may find himself the odd man out. When you look at the driver development of Justin Haley, 2020 was a monumental year. He won his first Xfinity race, he made it to the championship 4, and he set career highs in almost every single category. He's slowly developing into a David Reagan or Michael Waltrip style of driver, this time with a bit of consistency. The big question this season is whether Haley can take that next step and win races outside of Daytona or Talladega. Kaulig dominated these tracks last year, but Haley will need to nab a road course or a mile and a half to boost his shot at the championship in this season. If he can do that, there's rumors Kaulig Racing is actively looking for a NASCAR Cup charter for the 2022 season. Just maybe he can be the guy to start a Cup team around. After all, don't forget, he got a Cup win before he's even set foot in a Cup car for a full season. Rounding out the Kaulig trio is the return of the Dinger. He's only raced 16 races for the team, but I'll tell you, he has put up some stellar numbers as a part-timer. That included 2 wins and 6 top 5s last season. This all while the 16 was a part-time team in 2021 and had to start deep in the field in pretty much every single race because of NASCAR's COVID qualifying procedures. AJ Allmendinger this season will be, at the very least, a strong driver at the road courses and one of the outside challenges to our defending champ. Daniel Hemrick makes the return to full-time Xfinity racing. Only this time, he will take over the 18 Toyota Supra for Joe Gibbs Racing with Cup veteran Dave Rogers on the box. So when I look at this team, on one hand, it's good to see the 2019 Cup Rookie of the Year get a top caliber opportunity and a second chance. On the other, his excuses to not have a NASCAR sanctioned win are pretty much over. This is a must-win season for Daniel Hemric, and I'm very sure he knows this. If you don't get a win with this opportunity, with this car, with this team, you might as well just retire and slowly fade from NASCAR altogether. At that point, you're an embarrassment of a driver. Now odds are, this won't happen, as I see it being a 90% chance Daniel Hemric gets a win at some point this season. But then again, they always say history repeats itself, and this may be yet another case. I really thought it was going to happen. Brandon Jones, the guy that wrecked just about everything up until 2019, finally competing for a championship. Jones was on track to pull off the Kansas three-peat until he got taken out in the big one. From that point, he had a chance to point his way into Phoenix until a wreck at Texas, followed by a mediocre day in Martinsville, pretty much eliminated him from making it. It's hard to believe, but now 2021 is the 4th season Brandon Jones will race for Joe Gibbs Racing, and the 3rd with crew chief Jeff Mendering. This is a 19 team I see starting to get stability, and that is a good thing if they can deliver. Considering he has Joe Gibbs Racing equipment, this has to be the year he makes it to Phoenix and possibly wins the championship. I mean, Austin Cindric did it, so why can't Brandon Jones? However, the driver with the best chance to win the championship for Joe Gibbs Racing this season has to be Harrison Burton. I was pondering labeling his rookie campaign a disappointment up until the last 3 races of 2020. I mean, you think about it, he had so much promise and consistency up until the playoffs just to get eliminated in favor of RCR's B team. That is not a very good look. However, he then had a bittersweet ending to 2020 as he won Texas and the first Xfinity race at Martinsville in nearly 15 years. Something incredible for a rookie driver who hadn't even made a lap in a stuck car at the paperclip until that very race. His showing at the end of 2020 proved he's capable of winning races, thus amplifying the pressure to perform by about 3 notches. Anything short of 5 wins and a championship appearance, in my opinion, is a massive disappointment, especially in his sophomore year at Gibbs. Definitely a big year ahead for Harrison Burton. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Austin Cindric is a NASCAR champion. I said that right. The guy that couldn't bring equipment home in one piece in 2018 won the most coveted trophy Xfinity has to offer. I'll admit, things look tedious, and I wish sometimes Roger would just fire him, but he remained patient, and now Cindric is one of the most noteworthy young stars on the rise. Now he gets tasked with championship defense, and if he does so, he will join Martin Truex Jr., Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Tyler Reddick as back-to-back Xfinity champions in the 21st century. Now I'll say this, he has a much better chance to win the championship here in 2021, even though of course he won it last year. The reason is, nobody has truly stepped up to challenge Cindric's reign just yet. And so far, he's off to a great start by putting on a dominating performance to get Roger Penske his first Xfinity win in Daytona. He's come out swinging in 2021, and that will likely continue, especially this weekend at the Daytona Road Course. So after a career year and a round of 8 appearance for Ryan Sieg, 2021 didn't look too promising thanks to new entries from Kaulig and RCR. On paper, RSS Racing was going to be the 8th best team within their own manufacturer. I was getting a bit worried, to be honest, and it looked like making the playoffs was going to be unlikely this season. Then it was announced on January 11th that RSS Racing will be switching to Ford with engines supplied by Roush Yates Racing. This is huge considering Ford won nearly half the Xfinity races in 2020 with just 2 cars, keep in mind. In order to make the playoffs, theoretically all he has to do is outpoint 1 car from either Kaulig, JRM, Joe Gibbs, or RCR to advance. If he succeeds in doing so, this could be the very move to propel Ryan Sieg Racing as the best Xfinity-only team alongside Kaulig. If this fails horribly, however, you may never see this team be competitive again. If you ask me, there's a lot on the line for the 39 this season. Brandon Brown was the best of the rest champion of 2020, which got him a ticket to the first round of the playoffs. In Twitter terms, this was a Mickey Mouse postseason berth, as he was easily eliminated in the round of 12. However, when you look at this team overall, he did pretty well, as he got career best numbers in top 5s, top 10s, and average finish. It was an all-in year, and unfortunately with much more competitive teams, I see this team falling back down to earth. The 68 team will regress a bit in performance-wise, and I see them finishing 3 to 4 positions outside the playoff cut line. Smaller teams take note, as this is what happens when you don't do much to step up your game from year to year. Riley Herbst has officially survived his rookie season. Honestly, looking back, it's not like he was the worst thing to happen in that ride. He was just terrible. What was the most surprising thing to me was just how quick and how fast Joe Gibbs Racing cut him. They pretty much developed him and dumped him, but as we all know, this is the Toyota way throughout Cup, Xfinity, and trucks. Now he gets to race Fords at Stewart Haas Racing, and keep in mind, this was the best car in 2020 that won the most races last season. Even better, you've got Richard Boswell. He's not moving up to Cup with Chase Briscoe. Instead, he's staying with Riley Herbst in the 98 team. This is pretty much the same team as 2020, and without a question, I'm going to say this, Riley Herbst needs to start winning races, or at the very least show progress here in year 2. This is going to be a true testament as to whether Riley Herbst is a good driver, or if he really is that terrible. So along with the drivers, the other major storyline of the 2021 Xfinity season is just who will fill the void of Chase Briscoe. He was able to win 9 races last season, which accounts for a whopping 27% of the races run in an Xfinity season. Him moving up to Cup is going to play a factor in just which teams can get better this season and challenge your defending champion Austin Cindric for the 2021 title. So now we get to the predictions, and much like trucks, I have to take out the races that Kyle Busch is pretty much guaranteed to win. I'm gonna say he gets at least 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if MTJ Hamlin or even Ty Dillon steals a win with a fast JGR 54 entry. Thus, there will still be 21 races won by Xfinity Regulars this season, divided amongst the contenders. Your defending champion Austin Cindric will earn 6 wins on the year and will be the main guy to fill Briscoe's absence. Alongside him, as championship contenders are Harrison Burton and AJ Allmendinger. I'm extremely confident the addition of new road courses will make Allmendinger a contender and he will earn 3 wins in the regular season. I've also got Brandon Jones, Noah Gragson, and Justin Haley winning multiple races with Justin Allgaier and yes, Riley Herbst each winning 1 race each. Now we get to the final 4 spots on points, which I figure will be settled between 5 teams. I'm going to assume, based on their equipment, that Daniel Hemrick and Michael Annett will make it on points. I also think because of the Ford Alliance, Ryan Sieg will sleep easy in the final weeks leading into the postseason. That leaves just the 2 of Myatt Snider and the 10 of Jeb with an exclamation mark Burton for the final spot. Now, I'll say this, when you're looking at the 2 drivers head to head, you easily got to go with Jeb Burton as he's more experienced and he's better than Snider head to head. If we're going purely based on that, I'd definitely go with Burton. However, you just have to consider that Myatt Snider is racing for RCR. This is a very good Xfinity team. They won a championship with Tyler Reddick and they've shown some good speed over the past couple of years. And with that, you just can't go against leaving an RCR team on the outside looking in, which is why Myatt Snider will take the final spot and Jeb Burton narrowly misses the playoffs. It's truly tough luck, but that's a testament to how stacked the Xfinity Series is going to be this year. I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting to see how this all plays out from now until September. So anyways, this is NRF signing out, and just remember, life's a beach and then you drive.